Long-time viewers of the channel might know that I have a bit of a sleep problem. Unfortunately, things tend to get worse when I open my laptop and my online shopping addiction takes over. So there I was, yet again. Another late night, another round of online shopping. And this time I decided to see what kind of car-related tools I could grab off the internet. And of course I started with Lidl. I was browsing the German website, but I've translated everything into English so it's easier for a broader audience to follow along. So let's dive in and see what kind of a budget we need in order to get our hands on some essential tools for any petrolhead. Of course, one of the first things we need is some decent lighting, because let's face it, working on cars or in a garage means you'll need some good illumination. I know one of you recently picked this up and left a comment about it, so thank you for that. But I'm also a fan of something with a removable battery, like this one. This uses a 12-volt battery. The downside is that it's bulky and heavy, but at least if it dies, I can change the battery out and get right back to work. This is also a good option as a secondary light. It's also a narrower profile and can get into tighter spaces. The downside for me is that the battery is built in. And since we have the bonnet up, let me show you why you need these two as well. A small mirror such as this is a must, I think. It will help you a lot to see around some difficult places and might even save you some time because it gives you a better idea on what's going on. This extendable magnet is also a must because you're bound to drop a 10mm socket at some point. And an added bonus is that it has an LED at the front, so you can also get to see what you're aiming for. At €3 per piece, these are really nice and I think a must for your toolbox. Let me know down in the comments what you think of my lighting selections. Before we continue, I would like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video if you enjoy the content. Also leave a comment down below telling me what you think of my tool selection. Next up, screwdrivers and wrenches, because let's be honest, every DIYer needs them. Lidl has some great options, and this screwdriver set really caught my eye. Or for a better deal, you can grab one of these sets for even less. They are no longer listed on the website, but I actually picked these up from a physical Lidl store a couple of weeks ago, and that was for about €4 each. I've got a set of larger bits and a ratcheting screwdriver, as well as a smaller set here. So yeah, it's really about picking what works best for you. As for the wrenches, they've also got a wide selection of those, but I personally love these ratcheting ones. They're perfect for tight spaces and they make life so much easier when you don't have to remove them from the fastener. They also offer them with a swivel joint, but I'm not sure that's the best choice. And Parkside isn't snap-on, so I'm pretty sure the joint won't stay firm for long, and that would probably cause more discomfort than anything else. But these ratcheting wrenches definitely worth the investment. Now this is a tool I didn't realize I needed until I really needed it. A soldering iron. I've had to pull this thing out for some small cable repairs way more than I'd like to admit. So for €10 it's a worthwhile investment for sure. It's a small 4-volt soldering iron which is perfect for the average DIYer. It has just enough power to help with some basic wiring. Just make sure to take care of the tip because when it breaks, it is really tough to find the replacement. There are some on Aliexpress, but they're not quite the same as the original. Alright, moving on with something I really like the look of. This torque adapter. Add to cart. And now of course you'll need an extendable ratchet to use it with. You could grab this Parkside version, or if you find something cheaper like I did, it works just as well. Admittedly, the torque adapter is a bit pricey at nearly €40, but it is good value and no need to mess around with a full torque wrench if you've got something like this. It does the work for you and takes up way less space. I did save on the extendable ratchet because this Iato cost me €10, so even less than the usually very cheap Parkside version. You can also find cheaper torque adapters than the Parkside. For example, this one from Aliexpress was about half the price. But the Parkside's display is a lot bigger and it has an actual warranty. And its narrower torque range may make it more accurate than this one. The display on the one from Aliexpress is just so tiny, I sometimes struggle to see anything clearly. So yeah, I'm okay paying a bit more for the better display. Let me know in the comments if you prefer a mechanical torque wrench or one of these torque adapters, and why. Now here's something interesting. The new version of Parkside's basic impact wrench. The newest C4 version. It comes with a battery and a charger for €90. A little on the pricey side, but I like the 3-year warranty. And since I can use the same battery on other tools, I think it's worth considering. And if you're looking for cheaper alternatives, I think you'll find this video here very useful. In it, I test budget impact wrenches from Temu and Aliexpress. As for the new Parkside, I have to say, this new box looks really smart. In it, you get 4 long sockets, which I was initially skeptical about, but after some testing, I found they're a lot better suited to this tool than I ever thought. They're made of chrome vanadium steel, which isn't my first choice for impact wrench sockets, but they're thick enough to handle the impacts from the tool. However, you'll get even more power from the tool with chrome moly sockets, but these, they'll still do the job. But let's test this thing. I've got an older version of this tool here for comparison. As you can see, the box on the older one is basic and makes you feel a bit meh about it. The new version, however, has a much nicer design. The new one is made by OM, while the older B2 version is made by Grizzly Tools. So, let's see how they perform. Using the new torque adapter, the bolts were set to 200 Newton meters, which is way too much for this car, but let's not talk about that. First up, we have the new C4 version. Impact socket, full battery, and maximum settings. Let's see what it can do. Not bad so far. And, once again, well, that bolt was just a bit over 200 Newton meters and it did not enjoy it one bit. And now time for the older version. Same impact socket, 4 amp battery, and maximum settings. And it looks like that was not the best 90 euros I ever spent. Fortunately, there is a performance version coming out at some point. Now here's something you don't appreciate until you've used it, a cordless ratchet. For under 40 euros with the battery and a charger included, it's an absolute must-have for any car enthusiast. And while we're talking 12-volt tools, Lidl also has this 12-volt drill driver set for under 40 euros. Another great option if you need something compact but really useful. The new ratchet also comes with this new nice looking box and an adapter to use half-inch sockets with. I would also recommend picking up some 3/8-inch sockets to keep the head narrow for tight spaces. You can also grab an additional 1/4-inch bit adapter just so you can use it with more stuff. I've had an older version of this ratchet for a while now, so let's test the new one against it. We'll use this ratchet testing rig with some brand new nylon locking nuts. Place your bet. Which one do you think will perform better? The new Parkside or the old one? We have 3 10mm nuts and 3 30mm nuts that need to be driven as far as the socket allows. Unfortunately, I lost my long 10mm socket, but we'll make it work. First up, the older model. Doing fine so far with the 10mm nylon locking nuts. And I can promise you that despite it being a used tool, it's still going as strong as it did on day one. And the 30mm nuts are not an issue for it either. Although I would like to see some more speed out of it. It's not like it's bogging down or anything, it's just a bit slower than I would ideally like it to be. But still, it has been like that since day one. So a final time of 41 seconds for the older tool. And now let's see how the newer version does. And it has to be said that I paid around 40 euros for just the bare tool of the older version. Whereas with this newer one, you also get a battery and a charger included in that same price. And with a final time of 35 seconds, I can safely say a fantastic result and good improvement for such a budget tool. So for sure, I would definitely recommend this new B1 version, Parkside Cordless Ratchet. As for the 12-volt drill driver, I could insert a 10mm drill bit and show you that it has enough power to drill in speed too. However, outright power isn't what you need if you will be using it in terms of car repairs. You need low weight and sufficient power, and this is a champion at those. On top of that, let me share my life hack with you. If you get one of these Makita flexible extensions, you can use it to, for example, remove some trim pieces while sitting in the seat, and just pointing the bit at the front of the adapter at the screw you want to remove. Here's a cool one, a workshop seat on wheels. At €18, it's a good deal if you want something like this to sit on while working on your car. But since I'm on a tight budget, I'll pass for now and just use the chair I already have.
It has 5 legs.
Now let's talk about sockets and ratchets. Unfortunately, the Parkside set didn't impress me, so I picked up one from Aliexpress instead. This is the actual set I got a couple of years ago. I know it doesn't look the best, but it's been through some tough times. It was rained upon a couple of times when I was working outside, but honestly, if you take care of it, it's a really good set. I broke the box, and I also made room for some extra sockets, but in the newer sets I've shown, it looks like these sockets are already included. And guess what I'm missing here? Last but not least, a battery charger, because I think it's essential for the whole setup. Without it, you're kind of stuck really. So definitely add this to your shopping list. Now, don't expect miracles in terms of performance at this price point, but since it has some certifications, I feel safe leaving it plugged in overnight. Plus, it can charge both 12-volt and 6-volt batteries, which is great if you're also into bikes. And as an added bonus, it can also act as a trickle charger. I think that's €20 well spent. But let's go even further. How about this battery tester? Sure, I know Parkside also make a multimeter, but that might be a bit difficult to use if you're just getting into this sort of stuff. This battery tester seems easy enough to use compared to the multimeter. So let's see what it says about my battery. And it looks like my battery needs a charge according to this €4 device. Let's see if the much pricier multimeter agrees with it. So at 12.3 volts, I would indeed consider using the battery charger I just showed you on this. So I think it's a reasonable purchase for €4. So after all that, we're looking at nearly €270 spent at the online Lidl store. And if you add the stuff I got in the physical store and from AliExpress, the grand total is around €350. Not bad for all the stuff we're getting, but remember, if you're smart about it and you wait for discounts or use coupon codes, you can knock that price down by quite a bit. Now let me throw in a bonus tool I found in the discount section. This one's for anyone living in the Arctic Circle. It is the Ultimate Speed Electric Ice Scraper. Credit where credit's due, it does get the job done. But you need to push it really hard into the window for it to work, and I find that rather uncomfortable. Plus, in the winter, you can't really leave it in the car, because batteries and cold, well, they really don't go together. Let's test it against this arch nemesis, a regular, non-electric ice scraper. If I'm being entirely honest, I think this thing is more of a burden than something useful. Give me a double espresso in the morning and I can de-ice my window quicker with the old-fashioned scraper. Anyway, that's it for now. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed or anything you'd recommend. If you enjoyed the content, I would really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and leaving a comment down below.